Hey, John Kavakis here with another edition of My Take. And today we're going to take a look at Goldvarg's 1974 Buick Century NYPD police car. So let's talk about police cars for a second. You know, what's the worst thing you can see in your rearview mirror? We all know the answer to that. We don't like to see those lights spinning, and we know that we're in trouble in some way. But at the same time, what's the best thing you can see when you really need help? Well, the answer is the same thing, the police car. With all the negative rhetoric going around today, it's easy to forget that the police are here to help us and protect us. And it's one thing I appreciate about Goldvarg's NYPD series, is it reminds us of a time when we all understood that the police were valuable. And by the way, I believe they still are. So, you know, this is a great series, a little bit of nostalgia here. Remember things we saw on TV, that sort of thing. I just love it, you know. Let's talk about the car business for a minute. And I've mentioned this before. In the early 70s, there were huge changes that occurred in the automobile industry. The horsepower wars were over, killed by high insurance rates, high gas rates, federally mandated smog controls, big bumpers, unleaded gas, all sorts of things were being added to these cars. And the idea was that the horsepower was down. I believe the manufacturers did a good job of reorienting because comfort went up. Some call it the malaise era because of the big bumpers and the smog controls and all that. But I find it fascinating. You know, it took a few years for the designers to compensate, but eventually they integrated the bumpers into the designs of the cars, and some of the designs in the mid-70s, late 70s were fairly decent. The designers had to turn from outright performance to nicer designs and better interiors, and I believe that the beautiful interiors we see on so many cars today are a direct result of that reorientation in the 70s, so we can be thankful for that. In 1973, General Motors redesigned their A-body cars. They're mid-size intermediate cars. They incorporated a design called colonnade design, and what that is a thin roof line with columns holding up the roof. Very spare-looking, kind of European, and really neat, and it applied to all of the intermediate GM cars. In 1974, you could get a Buick Century with a standard 350 cubic inch V8, only produced 150 horsepower, and again, we're kind of in the middle of all trying to deal with all those extras we had to put on cars, but you could get it with a stage 1 455 cubic inch V8 up to 270 horsepower, and that's how most police cars were equipped. Goldvarg brings us this NYPD colonnade styling police car for 1974, but it's a version of his very well done 74 Century, which we've seen before. As part of a series of police cars, we've seen the 1970 Ford Galaxy police car. We've seen the 1953 Ford Courier utility police car. Coming very soon on the heels of this model is the 1959 Ford Fairlane, the 1976 Pontiac Catalina, the 1958 Ford Custom 300, and the 1977 Pontiac Le Mans. So what I've got here today is this 1974 Buick Century. So I want to get it out of the box, take a look at it, and get it on the turntable, and tell you what I think of it. There we are. First thing, the colors are just fantastic. You know, they're really well replicated colors, NYPD, in that era. Another thing I'm very fond of in 143rd, and it's been just getting better and better, are graphics and badging. These are really well replicated police department badges on the doors of the car. It looks fantastic. The detail's really good. The window surrounds are to scale. They're photo etch, but they're to scale, and I really appreciate that because so many models have had photo etch window surrounds that have been just a little bit too big. And this is done really well. A little rearview mirror hanging from the middle of the windshield that looks fantastic. The front of the car, the grille is well picked out. The Buick emblem across the hood is very small, very much to scale. It looks fantastic. Badging is really great. I want to talk about the light bar because this is a little work of art. The two flashing lights on either side are really well replicated. There's some thought went into this. The lensing on the red lights, the horn's got some dimensionality to it. It really adds to the realism of the model. You look around back, the taillights are well picked out, the bumper's well replicated. And you look at it in a side view on it, you know, the bumpers are large, but they're not totally intrusive. They look good. The wheels are well done. The center caps, I've got some questions about that, but I can't see it all that clearly in hand. They look fantastic. But the wheels are really well done. They're really deep in their dimensionality, and the tires are appropriate for the car. The interior is very well picked out. The dash is a little work of art all in itself. I'll try and get a picture of it for you. Steering wheel is an authentic replica of the 1.1 steering wheel. It's a great car. It's a really nice little model. So let's go to the 5-star. Okay, fidelity, I put the calipers to it. It's exactly 1/43. We get a 5. The trim, lensing, and badging get a 5. And again, you know, I might have to come up with the 6-star rating to do some of this trimming and badging because it just keeps getting better and better. Color, 5. Interior detail, 5. Wheels and tires, I'm going to go with a 4. Value at $109, I'm going to go with a 5 on that as well. It's a typical Goldvarg police. Very well replicated, a great value. Sergio's done a really good job of holding his prices. They've gone up a little bit, not as much as some others. So he continues to keep the hobbyist in mind. So that gives it an overall 5-star rating of 29 out of 30. And that's becoming fairly typical for a Goldvarg model, quite near what I see to be perfection. So it's a really nice model. So this is my take on Sergio Goldvarg's 1974 Buick Century NYPD police car. Thanks for tuning in. Do me a favor before you go. If you like the video, will you click on the thumbs up button down on the bottom? I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And I'll tell you something else I love, comments. I try to answer the comments as quickly as I can when they go up, but I really enjoy some of the dialogues I've had with some of you. Weigh in on it. If you got ideas, if you got suggestions, if you got something that you saw differently than I did on the model, I would love to hear from you. And if if you have ideas about models you'd like to see reviews of, let me know. I've got a lot of stuff coming. This is just the tip of the iceberg right here. Thank you, Sergio. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back soon.